Hi everyone, I'm Chef Julia Dunaway, and I'm going to be making some potato salad today, but my potato salad is plant-based with no oil because that's the way I eat. And I think you can make a really good potato salad without oil, without mayonnaise, without deviled eggs or boiled eggs, without any of the stuff that is in traditional potato salad. And the reason I know this is because I made this exact same potato salad a couple of days ago, and my YouTube video, there was a problem and it didn't record. So I had this big bowl of potato salad, and so I had to do it all over again today. So I had this potato salad and I ate some a couple days, and I had so much left that I gave it to my friend who is not plant-based, and I brought it over to him last night and said, hey, I have to make this all over again tomorrow, so just go ahead and have this. And he said, okay. And I said, no, it doesn't have mayonnaise, it doesn't have boiled eggs, it's very plant-based. I said, so if you want to add your own touch to it, go right ahead. And he said, okay. Well, he texted me later and said it was delicious, just the way it was. So if the regular eaters like it, then I'm sure a plant-based person would love it. And it has really simple ingredients. Like, I've got my little tray here, I'm gonna move it, but if you look at it, really it has things like pickle relish, some celery, some red onion, or you could use white onions or scallions, any kind of onions you like. And then there's a sauce with lemons, cashews that have been soaked, a little bit of salt, and some mustard. Very simple sauce. Now then from there, we can take it over the top by adding some extra seasonings, candied jalapenos, fresh jalapenos, spice blends, garlic, pepper, sriracha, salt. We can add a bunch of other stuff to dress it up a little bit, but we first have to make our basic recipe. We first have to get these potatoes cooking. So I've got some water boiling here, and I'm gonna drop these potatoes in the boiling water as soon as I've got them cut up. I think I'm gonna cut them up first so that I don't have the pan of boiling water steaming up my room. So I have my good sharp knife, and I've got about 2.5 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes, or you could use any gold potatoes. Some places they just call them gold potatoes, but where I get them, they're Yukon Gold potatoes, and they're organic. I cut them in half, cut the halves into pieces, like maybe 3 good-sized pieces. And then they just really need to be in 1/2-inch pieces. So really we're looking for, not gigantic pieces, but not little tiny pieces either. And they should all be kind of uniform, because if they're not, if you have some giant chunks and some small pieces, then everything's gonna cook at a different rate. And you want everything to cook, pretty evenly, consistently. So that's why we wanna make sure they're all kind of the same size. And I'm not peeling these potatoes, so we could peel them. It just depends. Some people like their potatoes peeled, some people don't care. I don't mind them unpeeled because these Yukon Gold potatoes, they're organic, so they're not covered with pesticides, which is a good thing. And the peels are really thin, so you don't really notice them that much. So I don't think it's an issue. If you were using russet potatoes, yes, then of course peel them. And you can make this with russet potatoes, you can make it with red potatoes, pretty much any potato you like. I know there's some little tiny mini gold potatoes out there. There are a lot of different ones, so just use the ones you like. Sometimes people boil the potatoes and then cut them. If you like to do that, that's fine. The timing will be different if you put whole big chunks of potatoes in here versus smaller pieces. I tend to like to cut them into the smaller pieces because they cook faster. So that's why I do it this way. But whatever way you're comfortable with. And I always buy organic potatoes. I think I read something and it said that certain potatoes are sprayed with such heavy pesticides that, especially the article I read was about McDonald's potatoes, and they were saying that McDonald's only wants unblemished potatoes, that are very perfect looking for their French fries. And so the story was that the people who worked with their potatoes had to wear like a hazmat suit to go in the warehouse where the potatoes are kept, because the fumes from the potatoes were kind of toxic. I didn't like the sound of that. I thought, man, I don't eat McDonald's potatoes, but that would keep me from going back to eating them if I had been a fan of McDonald's potatoes. But, so that's non-organic potatoes. So, you know, I don't get everything organic. I try to, but sometimes I can't get everything organic. But there is the Dirty Dozen, and the Dirty Dozen are the 12 types of produce that are more likely to be polluted, and potatoes are probably one of them. So just keep that in mind, that, you know, there are certain things that you want to be sure you get organic. I'm just going to drop these in the water and hope it doesn't overflow. No, it's not going to. That's a lot of water. I'm going to take some of my water out. I don't want it to start sputtering. You don't need quite that much water, just enough water to cover. But I've got the water boiling, and I'm going to turn it back up to bring it back up to a boil. And then we're going to let them simmer on kind of medium simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then we'll check the potatoes from time to time to see how they're doing. We want to make sure the potatoes are done, all right? Because I've had the experience before where I didn't cook my potatoes all the way. And there's nothing you can salvage when you make your potato salad and have hard potatoes. It's not a good taste. It's just kind of, it's just not good. You don't want to do it. So while the potatoes are cooking, we'll make all the other ingredients, and we'll make our sauce or dressing. So I've got a couple of ribs of celery, and you know, I do buy organic celery, so, but if you can't find it, it's okay, just use the regular. And I'm just going to cut the ribs of celery into strips, and then cut those into kind of a small dice, because I don't really like to bite into giant chunks of celery when I'm eating the potato salad. If you don't mind, if you like great big huge pieces of celery in yours, you don't have to cut them as small, but I'm kind of mincing it more than dicing it. It's just my preference to have the celery be a little bit smaller. So it's going to be smaller than 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just going to dice it with my knife. I have a sharp knife. Hold your fingers away from the knife. Don't leave any sticking out. High risk for cutting. And then, you know, we'll have our little pile of celery and onions. Then we'll have our pickles. Now, I know there are other things that you can put in your potato salad. In the Japanese potato salad, I noticed that they put shredded carrots in the potato salad. I don't put that in mine because that's not traditional for me, but I've seen that in the Japanese potato salad. You could put things like bell peppers or summer squash, or I mean, you could put anything in there that you wanted to, but the regular old potato salad usually just had celery, pickles, and onions. And the potato salad I grew up with was the one my mother made. Now, my mother was Japanese, but my father was from North Carolina. And he's the one who taught her about all the kind of southern foods. And so their traditional food for family gatherings that my father wanted all the time was, he wanted baked ham and potato salad. So my mother would make these huge vats of potato salad throughout my childhood. And I have to say that I wasn't a big fan of potato salad, ever. I don't know, it's just something about it. It just wasn't my thing. The person that liked potato salad in the family was my brother, Charles. He loved potato salad. I'm gonna put, well, I think I'll use a small bowl. I'm gonna put my vegetables in a little bowl. So whenever I would come home to visit after I left home, my mother would make potato salad. And I would always tell her, you know, I would say, Mom, I'm not the one who likes potato salad. That's Charles, my brother. But she just had it in her head that if somebody was coming home, you had to make potato salad. And the other thing that she would make that I liked is she would make chicken teriyaki. That was the other thing that was my favorite. So whenever I was coming home, she would make rice and chicken teriyaki. So that was my thing. Then now I like tofu teriyaki. So my comfort food is, I'm gonna put the lid on this so it'll come to the boil faster. My comfort food really is like something with a soy sauce flavored tofu, and then eat it with Japanese rice and some kind of vegetables. And potato salad actually would go good with teriyaki tofu and rice. And now that I'm an adult, I think I would like that. Okay, I have a red onion. This is the half of the one I used the other day for the video that didn't get made. But when I grew up, we used white onions in our potato salad. These are like sweet yellow onions in Texas that are very easy to get. And then I've seen some recipes where they use scallions. So maybe we'll use a scallion, just one on top at the end. But I definitely love these red onions, and these red onions right now are really good tasting. I have them growing in my garden. They're in the stores. They have a really nice, kind of a milder flavor, because I guess maybe this time of year is onion season. But if you think the onion is too bitter, too sharp, one thing you can do is you can soak your onion in vinegar, your diced up onion, soak it in some vinegar. And amazingly, the vinegar cuts that acidic sharpness of the onion. Water also works well too. So either way, water or vinegar, just a few minutes, like 10 minutes is all you need. So I'm dicing up the onion, and I'm doing it kind of like celery. I'm not dicing it into large pieces. I'm trying to kind of dice it into really thin, still they're about 1/4 of an inch thick, but they're thin pieces of onion. Because again, I don't want to bite into great big chunks of onion in my salad. And then I'll save little scraps that are good for broth. There shouldn't be that many. Okay, now my water is boiling. I can hear it and see it. So what I'm going to do now, I'll put all these onions in my bowl. See, I have my bowl of celery and onions. Then I'll check on my potatoes. And I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes. And then I'll know that time, I'll check it at that time. Okay, so the potatoes are going well. I'm going to turn it to, right now it's really boiling. I'm going to turn it down to about medium so that it's still bubbling and it's still cooking, but it's not quite as boiling as rapidly as the other time, as it was. So the traditional potato salad, what did it have in it? Well, I just remember that it always had celery, onions, and boiled eggs. And so we have to start thinking about, do we have any replacement for the taste of eggs? And this is where, as I was saying earlier, we can get creative in making our sauce. And the closest thing that you always see that will replace the flavor of eggs is black salt. So kala namak is black salt, or nutritional yeast mixed with black salt. So to do that, I actually have a seasoning mix called tofu scramble spice mix, and it makes tofu taste like eggs. So I started thinking, I'm gonna put some of this in my dressing or on top of the potato salad. So this is something I ordered from a company called Fresh Jacks in Jacksonville, Florida. I don't have any agreements with them, so this is just something I like. But it's worth ordering because it really works. It gives a lot of stuff this kind of eggy taste. But if you don't have this, the replacement would be like a teaspoon of nutritional yeast and a 1/2 teaspoon of black salt. Okay, so that's to give it that taste that you would get from the boiled eggs, I think. So while this is cooking, we'll start making our sauce. The sauce starts with cashews. So I have cashews that have been soaking for, well, I'd say a couple hours. Usually I have the Vitamix blender, the high-speed one, so it really doesn't take that long to get things to soften up in the blender itself. So I don't have to worry too much about soaking things for very long because the Vitamix will do it. I don't have to get too worried about it. So I'm going to put the drained cashews, and when I drain my cashews, I kind of make sure all the water is out of them. I even kind of squeeze them a little bit because I've been finding that there's a lot of water in the cashews that you may not have allowed for in your recipe, and then you end up with a really runny sauce. So I realized that one day because my sauce was real watery, and I thought I used the exact recipe that, you know, people that was in the recipe, and look at all the water in my bowl. You can't really see it, but there's like a couple of tablespoons of water left in the bowl even after I put it through the strainer. So I would say, you know, just for, you know, good measuring sake, squeeze the excess water out of the cashews. That way you don't get the water you didn't intend to have. Now, it probably wouldn't hurt anything to have that water in most cases, but I'd rather add it myself than have it left in the cashews, okay? So to this, we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, which I just took these lemons before I turned the video on, so I wouldn't have to stand here and squeeze lemons. And I just it took 2 lemons to make 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then we're gonna put in a tablespoon of mustard, and I'm gonna shake it so it doesn't do that thing where the first part of it's water. If you don't shake your mustard when you start pouring it out, it's just like pure water. And then I'm going to put my tablespoon of mustard. See, it comes out nice and creamy because I shook it. I've had bad experiences where I took the lid off the mustard and all the stuff spurted out like water, or then I've turned it and then water spewed out. It's not good for your recipe. Okay, so I got the the mustard, and then speaking of water, 6 tablespoons of water, which I measured out. And then we're gonna put half a teaspoon of salt, sea salt. And this is kosher salt, but you could use sea salt. Half a teaspoon. If you're on a low salt, no salt kick, you can always leave out salt. If it's in a recipe, it's not gonna really change anything. And that's all that's in our sauce here. So what I'm gonna do is turn the blender on. It will make some noise, and you'll hear it. I think it mutes it on the video, maybe, but it won't take that long. Time, it's nice and creamy. And how I tested it was I put my tamper tool down in it, and I just like tasted it. That's a good way to check stuff in the Vitamix, is the tamper tool works good for things like that. So now I gotta get it out of here. And this is always kind of a little trick. Let's see how our potatoes are doing. I'm going to stir them around. They look like they're cooking well. I turn the heat up a little bit, speed things up a little. I've got 2 tools. I've got underblade scraper, which was a gift to me by somebody who was attending my classes when I was doing live classes here in this room. And they saw me struggling to get something out of the blender. And so next time she came to a class, she brought me this, something I'd never heard of, because sometimes the sauce gets kind of trapped under the Vitamix blender blades, and then you can't get it out. You know, a regular spatula does not work very well. So this, you can actually see it, and you can move the blade around with it, and you can get all your sauce out. because you don't want to waste it. You want to have plenty of it. And then the other thing that happens when you're trying to get stuff out of the Vitamix is it gets stuck on the side of the blender. So then you can't get that off. Well, this tool, someone else told me about. I don't know how people find out all these interesting things that I don't know about, but I learn a lot from, you know, social media, that somebody will say, hey, have you ever seen this tool? And then they'll have a picture of it. And then I'll say, oh no, but I sure need it. So that's how I found this one. Okay, so I got pretty much all of it out of here. There's probably a little bit more, but you get the picture. So we have our sauce ready. It's really good. I know it's gonna be good when I taste the sauce and wanna lick my fingers because it tastes so good. That's a good sign. That's what you wanna see. So we have our sauce, we have our vegetables, we have the pickle relish ready. Now it's just a matter of waiting until our potatoes are done. And then once the potatoes are fully done, don't be in a hurry. Make sure they're fork tender. When you pick one up out of your water, what it should be like is you grab one out of here, okay, put it on your cutting board and cut into it. And then once you've cut into it, you can kind of see, is it going to fall apart when you poke it? Is it gonna just like stay together? No, this one is still not cooked because it doesn't really fall apart when I poke it with a fork. It still stays together. And I know if I taste it, it's gonna be it's al dente, it's almost not even crunchy, but you know, it's just hard. It's not soft like you need the potatoes to be, because in your potato salad, you want the potatoes to be soft and done. You don't want them to have this, you know, al dente texture. In the Japanese potato salad, they go so far as to cook the potatoes until they're soft enough to mash. And their potato salad almost has the texture of mashed potato salad. So that's a thing too. So if you overcook your potatoes, don't dismay, because then you could call it Japanese style potato salad with softer potatoes. So we'll just give it a few more minutes, and as soon as the potatoes are done and drained, I'm gonna put them in a bowl and get started making the actual potato salad itself. So this will just take another couple of minutes. Okay, the potatoes are done. And I know they're done because I'll show you what I did. I fished one out with my fork and I put it on my cutting board and I cut it with my knife, and it immediately was nice and soft and fork tender and a little bit flaky and perfect, just like it's supposed to be. So now I'm going to immediately drain it into the colander over here. Oops. Let's put the colander in the sink where it belongs. And I will drain it. Get them all out of there. Get my steam bath. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them immediately into my stainless steel bowl. Make sure there's no water on them. And then what I like to do now is immediately add, okay everybody, I just figured out that the video that I just recorded, part 2, did not record. So I'm sort of remaking it by just telling you what I did to finish off the potato salad. And that way you know how I did it, but I've already got it made. And basically all I did was I took the sauce that I had already prepared, added it to the cooked potatoes, and then I added my, you know, a little bit of ground pepper. That's it. So some of the other things that I wanted to mention that you can do to beef this up a little bit, make it a little bit tastier, is you could put in other seasonings and spices. So what I did, for example, I used just regular old pickle relish. So remember the onions and the celery, I just threw that in with the cooked potatoes along with the cashew dressing. And then I added about 1/4 cup of this pickle relish. But let's say that you wanted it to be spicier and you wanted to add some zing, you could put in candied jalapenos. Or you could get one of these sweet and spicy pickles, like these Wickles pickles, and cut them up really small if you didn't have relish. So that works too. And then for seasonings, I like the tofu scramble. I mentioned it earlier. It has the nutritional yeast and it has a black salt, kala namak. So you could put that in here, sprinkle it on there. Not necessary, but it kind of gives it the eggy flavor that you would have gotten if you had used eggs. So the black salt gives it that kind of egginess. And then you could also use habanero pepper, garlic, black pepper blends. I know people have bought a lot of seasoning mixes. Seasoning blends are common. So if you have a bunch of different seasoning blends laying around your house, you can put whatever you want in here. But what I did at the end was I just sprinkled it with a little paprika. And I found some fresh herbs in the garden. So I took some chives, just little chives, and cut them up and put them on the top at the end. So really that's all I did. I mixed in the cashew dressing mixture. Remember, it was the cashews with the lemon and water and mustard. Mix that in with the warm potatoes. You don't have to cool them off if it's a plant-based recipe, because you don't have to worry about it curdling mayonnaise or anything. And then I added the pickle relish, onions and celery, and that was it. So how does it taste? Well, let's taste it. If you hear snoring, that's my dog Mochi. He's over here, I can show you. He's over here on the side. Mochi! He's sleeping up a storm. The potato is perfectly done. Everything is wonderful. And one thing I want you to really think about when you make this, first of all, don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry to cook your potatoes. Make sure they're cooked all the way. And so test them by taking them out from a couple different places in the pot, not just one place, because I made the mistake before of testing one piece of potato, find out that that piece of potato is fine, but then the other potatoes in other parts of the pot are still kind of hard. Ended up with crunchy potato salad. No, you don't want that. So be sure and test your potatoes. Let them cool for a few minutes before you add your cashew cream. I did it because I'm trying to get the video done, and it doesn't really mess things up, but you'll get more of the texture of your creamy sauce if you let the potatoes cool before you put the cashew cream on. However, you didn't get to see this, but as soon as I put the hot potatoes in the bowl, the mixing bowl, I added the apple cider vinegar to the hot potatoes after they were drained, because that infuses the taste of the apple cider vinegar into the hot potatoes. So there's another tip that you missed, because I don't know what's going on, but I thought for sure it was recording and it wasn't. So you do see the finished product. So I hope you make this. Follow me by subscribing to this channel. I also have a website called chef-julia.com. Oh goodness. Sorry about that. Chef-julia.com is my website. And I have a list of all my classes. I teach Zoom classes. So every other week I teach a new Zoom class. They're very affordable. You get a recipe packet. You get 2.5-hour class. So I have plenty of classes there listed for the rest of the year. I also have a Facebook page called Chef Julia. If you like it and follow me there, I post a lot of things. I post what I eat every day. So people know how to eat whole food, plant-based, no oil. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you make it. I think it will become a new favorite recipe. It certainly is one of mine, and it's great for the summer. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.